Hello everyone, my name is the Ultimate Spy, and welcome to another episode of Reviewed number 165. And today, I'm going to be reviewing Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles, Out of the Shadows, the sequel to 2014's Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles. So what did I think of Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles Out of the Shadows? My goodness. That was quite a mouthful. Well, first of all, that title is insane. I mean, seriously, that's a freaking long title. They shouldn't have called it that much. They should have probably called it TMNT 2. I mean, seriously. I mean, they would probably have been able to do that because the 2007 TMNT movie was called TMNT, so they couldn't have done that. But still, what a long name this is. I mean, seriously, I remember getting a ticket to this movie that had Turtles on. That was literally the title. It was just Turtles. They couldn't even print the full thing. And I remember going to, I think it was like a 10 a.m. showing of the movie. I don't think it was day one. I think it might have been. I can't remember exactly. I was the only one in the theater. That's how bad it was. I mean, it wasn't even that bad, but it's like this movie looks pretty good, but there's only people who hate it for some reason. I don't know. I guess people watched the original show or whatever and, like the original movies. They like the original movies better. I, for one, thought it was a really fun sequel to the first one. Though the first one was good, but this one was even better. I mean, it's honestly way better. Although I still kind of feel bad that I was the only one in the theater. But the point is that it's really fun, actually. It's a lot better than the first one. One of the reasons is because Stephen Amell's in it. Now, it's really interesting and odd to see him in a role that's not Oliver Queen. I mean, like, he's been playing that role for like 8 years because Arrow's ending this year, but he's been in that role for a long time. This came out, well, it was released in 2016, but it was probably not filming until 2015. It means that Arrow was in its 4th season in 2015, which makes perfect sense. But yeah, this movie with Stephen Amell in a movie like this, it's so weird to see him in a different role. But at the same time, it was interesting. It was interesting to see him in a film role because I haven't seen him in film roles before, never. Like, Arrow is it. That's literally it. Arrow is where he started, and that's where I've seen him from. That's the only thing I've seen him from. Literally, that's the only thing. This movie is the first movie I've seen him in. But this was a really fun movie. It was cinematically fun. It was like there was a lot more going on in this movie. There's a lot higher stakes. Shredder is back, obviously, but he isn't as big a threat, and he isn't really. He's not doing a whole lot. He's basically setting up the main villain, which is Krang, who's a I don't know what he is. It's like this weird slobby thing, and he's from the original cartoon, the 80s cartoon. I never watched the original cartoon, but he's from the original cartoon. He's the main villain. He's just this slimy creature thing, and he's in this like metal suit or whatever, and he wants to basically open a dimension so he can conquer Earth or whatever like that. It's crazy. But also you have Bebop and Rocksteady, who are basically the Shredder's henchmen, and they get mutated into a rhinoceros and a warthog, which is basically to rival the TMNT, obviously. And my goodness, the transformation is just disturbing. It's just weird. I don't like transformations like that, especially mutations. It's unsettling. But they're basically the competition for the TMNT, basically to have an advantage over them, because Shredder wants to get rid of the TMNT, obviously, and Krang wants to get rid of them. So it's like, hey, here you go. Here's this thing you can make your henchmen turn into these animal things. Very interesting idea. Some people hated this movie probably because of them. Probably because they botched the version like that. I didn't care. I mean, it's the same thing with Power Rangers. I never really bothered to care about the other stuff and what people thought of it. I went in blind. The same thing with this one. I had seen the original stuff. I had seen the original movie, but that was it. And then I saw this movie. They rebooted it. It's like, oh, it's not so bad. But I will say that it would have been a lot better if they changed the name. Because seriously, Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles Out of the Shadows. That's 8 words right there. That's insane. I mean, seriously, I haven't seen a longer name for a movie than like the adaptation of Alexander and the Terrible, No Good, Horrible, Bad Day. That was probably the longest movie in history. Well, I bet there's been longer, but it's crazy. I never heard of a movie that long. But still, this movie was really fun. Honestly, it was cinematically fun. There was a lot more going on in this movie. There was actually some Easter eggs actually to Transformers, because Michael Bay did produce this movie, and there was actually a cameo of a cosplayer of Bumblebee. Basically, it looks pretty cool actually. It's basically when Michelangelo, he pops up to the parade and he sees a cosplayer who thinks that he is a cosplayer. Obviously, it's just a really cool Easter egg because Michael Bay did produce the film, and it does feel cinematically like a Transformers movie, even though it's not. But it was still a really cool cameo, so I like that a lot. It was a really, really cool cameo. And speaking of Michael Bay, actually, it was surprising, actually, because even though Megan Fox is one of the most beautiful women in Hollywood, and it's actually true, she's gorgeous, she still came back for this one. Now, I didn't think the first one was bad, but I just felt like their history, Michael Bay and Megan Fox's history together, it surprises me that they would have come back to work together. I mean, he did produce it, he did direct it, but he produced it, so they were still on set together. So it just kind of, I don't know. It surprised me that she still came back to work with him on the film, the sequel to the last film, even though they had a past. Like, you know, he fired her and all that stuff from Transformers. And it's like he fired one of the most beautiful women in the world, and she still came back for this one. I mean, she's even more beautiful in this one. She's gorgeous. She's absolutely flawless, and it's just interesting. I mean, she's a great actress, but like, my goodness, what's going on there? There's actually a lot of times where she's like using her sex appeal, I guess. That's what I assume, where she's like trying to blend in with these girls to like get some data or whatever, and she puts on a skirt and, you know, takes off her wig, all stuff, and she's obviously wanting to blend in with the other beautiful girls, but you know, it's just, I guess she wants to show off herself or something like that. It was just like, I think that was just seen to show off. Just kind of like, I guess, blend in. I don't know, really weird, but still, it was fun to see her again. But I think people take her for granted just because of the history she has with Michael Bay. So that's pretty much all I can say about that. Now, one of the more funnier scenes in this movie was when Raphael, the orange bandana wearing turtle, he comes face to face with a real turtle, like an actual normal turtle, and it was just so awkward, but it was also kind of funny. It's like he just like rides up to a turtle. He's just like, well, this is awkward. He's just like, what do you know? He just a mutated turtle and then a normal turtle. It's like, what are the odds? It was just a really great scene. I liked that a lot. It was funny. Now, the turtles' designs in these two movies are very distinct because they don't appear to be able to hide in their shells. Although there's one scene where they do. It's like where they're falling into the waterfall and they tuck in. You can hear the sound effect. They tuck in, but it's like, where do they go? Like, how do they? There's no physical way they can tuck in because it's basically like their shells are strapped to their bodies, and it's so weird. I don't really understand how they can do that because their shells are strapped to their bodies. How are they able to hide into their shells? Because obviously turtles are not naturally able to do that, but like, I still don't get how they do that. Like we see them kind of tuck in, but like we don't see how they do it. So that's one of the things about these new ones that doesn't make sense to me. And I think they can do it on the original ones, but in these movies, it just isn't a thing. Like, you can't. They don't really look like they can do that. It's one of the things about these two movies that I have not liked is the design of the turtles. At least, not the face, but the bodies of the turtles. Like, they don't really feel very turtle-like because their shells feel like they're just like backpacks essentially. They don't really feel real. They don't really feel like something you tuck into. Except that part of the movie where they do, but you don't really see it very well, so it's really hard to what's happening. So I don't know, I guess it's more like a little bit of inaccuracy right there. So that's pretty much it. Now in this movie there's a scene where Vern, he's just plain idiot. So basically he's looking for the fourth camera because he's trying to find cameras in this room, and he basically digs up the camera behind the clock, and he just kind of like digs around, and then it loops all the way around to a door that was there from the beginning, like this little door you can just open, and that's where the camera is. But he does it almost idiotic thing where he just like digs up the cord and it wraps around and it goes back to where it was originally, which is the door. It's like, he's an idiot, obviously. It was obvious that it was right there. He could have just opened it. I think that's supposed to be a joke. It's supposed to be like, he's an idiot. He can't put logic into this. He's like, oh. He's basically like, huh. You know? He didn't really think about, this little door here you can just open. Yeah. He's not very smart. Now, I liked the final battle very much because it felt bigger. It felt tense because, well, they're facing Krang. He's a pretty big threat, and it just felt. I mean, obviously it felt like a Transformers movie, but also it just felt like there was more going on in it because of this like giant techno thingy, whatever. It was really crazy, and it was like I just felt like the cinematics were really good in that final battle, and overall they definitely worked more, but as a team, were actually able to succeed this time. It didn't feel, and I felt like the original battle with Shredder was just a little boring. I kind of didn't really go anywhere really. They just kind of felt like they were not able to do anything against Shredder. But in this movie, Shredder is not really much of a threat. He's just kind of like the guy who breaks out of prison to really, just get this going, basically, to get Krang to invade the planet, basically. And until later, Krang actually freezes Shredder, which is crazy. But still, yeah, I don't know. This battle is definitely way better than the first one, by a long shot. And actually, the end song is awesome. I loved it. It's catchy. It's so much fun to listen to, and that's because it's basically the classic TMNT theme song, but like it's a remix. Like they have like Turtle Power, Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtle, all that kind of thing, and then they have Heroes in Half Shell, all the lyrics from the original show, like all the stuff that all the Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtle references, everything like that, which is great. I love that fact that they had that. It's a great song. I just love it. I'm not like the biggest fan of the TMNT, but I know from what I've seen, I have enjoyed the movies, and it's not everyone's gonna be a fan of these new ones, but I have enjoyed them. And unfortunately, they're getting a reboot because they just didn't do well enough. Apparently, people hated it. I don't know. It wasn't that bad. I didn't think that the Bebop and Rocksteady transformation was all that great. It was just weird. I don't know. I wasn't really a big fan of that just because it was a bit disturbing again. But like, it's just, I don't know. That was a good redeeming fact though. The music was really good in this, and actually the song is just fantastic. So I liked it a lot. That's pretty much all I can say about Out of the Shadows. It had a pretty good cast, honestly. It dealt with characters we haven't seen before, at least since the 80s or whatever, the original cartoons and all that stuff. I don't think that Casey Jones is actually in the original 1990s movies, but even then, I had a lot more going on with it, a lot more cast, just a lot more plot points in it. It was really fun, actually. Like a lot of sort of science fiction stuff like that. The visual effects were really good. I liked the music. I liked the cinematography. There was actually a subplot where they could have turned to human, which is actually really good. They didn't end up doing that, but it kind of reminds me of TMNT 2, The Secret of the Ooze, where I think they explored that, where they could possibly become human. I don't remember if they did, because I haven't seen the movie in forever, but it was interesting to be able to explore the possibility of the turtles becoming human, because they're obviously mutants, and they're not turtle accurate because the turtles don't really work, but at the same time, it was an interesting concept of the fact that they could become human because the ooze can transform humans into the mutations, but I guess it reverses the effects. You can turn mutants into humans. It's a really interesting idea that was never explored before, but still, I don't know what the deal with this movie was. I don't know why people hated it so much. It wasn't that bad. I didn't really think I had much of a problem, really. I enjoyed it a lot more than the first one, definitely. Especially because of Stephen Amell. He was just fantastic. I loved him in Arrow, and instead of Arrow's ending, but at the same time, it was really cool to see him in another role that was not on television. And also, obviously, Vern gets like this, the key to the city is like become this famous icon, taking credit for the Turtles' work, all that stuff. So it's kind of like all over the place, but at the same time, pretty fun movie, and there's a lot going on, a lot of action, and it's well made in my opinion. My only opinion, I liked it a lot. It was a lot better than the first one. There are some people who could disagree, but I really didn't have anything against it. That's pretty much all I can say about Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles Out of the Shadows. I can't say that slowly enough. It's just not gonna be possible. They should have come up with a different name. That's just insane. But still, that's pretty much to say. I'm gonna give this movie. I wasn't a big fan of the transformation scene again, Bebop and Rocksteady, but aside from that, it wasn't bad. It was actually pretty good. So I'm probably gonna give it a 9 out of 10. I'm not gonna give it a perfect score because I didn't like that, but aside from that, it wasn't bad. It was actually probably one of the best TMNT movies as a live action, like using computer graphics to make the turtles. It's honestly had a pretty good story. And all the references from the classic shows in terms of the characters, the music, everything. It was fantastic. Even the Heroes in a Half Shell thing. Even that little music cue was there. It's all there. So that's pretty much all I can say. So thank you guys so much for watching this episode of Reviewed. I hope you enjoyed it. If you did, please hit the like button. I really do appreciate it. And if you're new to this channel, subscribe for more episodes of this series and other series that I do, as well as other content. Also make sure to click that bell to enable alerts as soon as I uploads, and I'll be back next time with another episode. Right?